welcome to the Midnight Shadow Witchcast podcast, where I discuss all things witchy, spooky, and everything in between. With this, your support means the world, and with that, you can now find me on Patreon for just $6 a month, where you will receive exclusive discounts, Witchcast specials, and more. So, journey your way over to Patreon and support a small business and rising podcast with your donation today. You can also support by following us on social media at MidnightsShadowSpellsAndBrews on Facebook and on Instagram, or at MidnightShadowSandB on TikTok. All right, let's get into it. So with me today, I now have Stephanie Stoltz, the paranormal investigator and small business owner. Hello, welcome.
Hello, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. So knowing that you are the owner and co-owner of the Painted Wraith Curiosity Shop in downtown Bloomington, Illinois, what has that been like for you?
It's been awesome. I love the community that we've created, all that I lovingly call my weirdos. Like I love everybody that we've met in the shop, and just through the whole journey. Like everybody's been really fantastic to us. So I love it.
I love that, and I love that for you. Well, so knowing that you are a paranormal investigator, I'm very curious to kind of probe your mind today,
Okay.
and get a sense of what that has been like for you. So to start off, I'd like to know, what has been the drive for you to explore the paranormal and the mysteries of Beyond the Veil?
So a lot of it for me started when I was a little kid.
Okay.
I grew up reading all the Goosebump books and all the spooky stuff, but just also growing up having paranormal experiences that I didn't know what they were when I was a kid. But just weird things happening in the house that I grew up in and not really understanding what I was experiencing and, not having an outlet for it, not having a way to explain it away. So it just kind of started an interest in that kind of thing, and also growing up having a larger family and having a lot of funerals to attend. So always being in that kind of that death world, I guess, in a way, like always being around death, it wasn't a foreign thing to me. So it just kind of led to a lifelong interest in the paranormal and in what happens once we pass, and just being curious and wondering what's going to happen when that day comes. So
I love that. Well, so in understanding that, and understanding that you have had a lot of experiences relating to that from a young age, I am quite curious to know how being a paranormal investigator has influenced your perspective about life after death and your specific connection to spirituality.
Oh, that's a deep question. I don't even know where to start with it, honestly. Like, so much of, like, the places that we've been into that I investigated, hearing the stories of the people that lived there and spent time there, and knowing that they were just people, and, like, they were just people like us, and that one day we're going to die too, and hopefully somebody will remember our stories and tell our stories, and, hopefully I won't be a malicious ghost somewhere haunting someplace, but yeah, just at the heart of it, just remembering that they were people and trying to remember them in any way you can. But I don't know. It's like you're touching history in a way when you do paranormal investigative work. And there's been some crazy experiences too. So
we're gonna get into that. Don't worry, we got you on that. So in understanding that, kind of going more into your level of spirituality for how you uniquely connect with that type of thing. I am aware that you are a Reiki practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really interested in knowing what that has provided you, being a Reiki healer and being able to utilize energy and energy work, and how that has really shifted your perspective on different things such as the paranormal and death.
Well, at its root, it's energy. So having the foundation that we are energy, everything around us is energy. The universe isn't, unlimited, infinite channel of energy, So it's, with Reiki, it's basically just tapping into that infinite amount of energy that's in the universe and channeling it, essentially. I'm not taking anything on myself when I do it, but it's more so just channeling and asking the universe to provide and to heal and to help. And for me, like it's always been important to me to help people in any way that I can. And healing is, if I can help somebody even in the slightest bit, that's what I want to be able to do. And that's what Reiki has given me the ability to do. And I really love that. Like, just, I don't know. I love being able to help people if I can. So
I love that. So going back to your experiences with the paranormal, side note, I'm curious, can you ever do Reiki on a ghost?
Well, I have no idea. I've never tried.
I think that'd be fun. Maybe that's something we could tip into. Anywho, going back to your experiences with the paranormal, can you share any experiences that you've had investigating that have been influential and have remained with you?
Well, the one that sticks out of my head, I don't know if I would consider it influential, but it definitely was a memorable experience, was being, it was an old asylum, and investigating the building. Didn't really feel anything, nothing really happened, and then getting to one of the floors, and when I investigate, I always tend to break off from the rest of the crowd. I want to be solo by myself, so that way I don't have, anybody else like contaminating my space, whatever. I go to the darkest, creepiest corners and holes that I possibly can. So I remember the group that I was with, once we got to that floor, I broke off from the rest of them, and I went to the end of the hallway to the room, which I later found out would have been like the rec room for that floor. But I remember crossing the threshold into that room, and the best way I can describe it, it was in my mind's eye, because I didn't see anything physically with my eyes, but it was this old, angry woman that came into, like, right up on me, get out! Just malicious. Not, malicious is the wrong word. She was angry. She was upset. She felt like her space had been threatened, that somebody came into her space. And I had to respect that, and I stepped out of the space, and I was like, okay, sorry. So that one is definitely one that has always stuck with me. Like, I still feel like I can see her face in my head, like, because she was just a very angry old woman that I was in her space. But I've also been in a space where I found out later the individual had passed in that space of a heart attack. I didn't know that at the time. But I remember being in the space, and I started getting really bad pains on my arm and then into my chest, to the point where I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I was hurting so bad. I had to remove myself from the space. I went away, and I finally got myself calmed down, and then later I found out that the individual had died of a massive heart attack in that space. And it was like, unfortunately, it was a case that he had deceased and was in that space for probably several days or a week before he was discovered. So it was a very tragic passing in that case. And again, with energy, like, you think about energy, like, when you pass, your energy is not just going to instantly dissipate. Mm-hmm. It's going to linger in some capacity. So for him, maybe it was the trauma of that experience of having that heart attack that took him out, mm-hmm. that stayed. So then that's what people feel when they walk into that space, whether they know it or not. Maybe they think they're having a heart attack themselves, right. But yeah, unfortunately. And then it makes me, as a compassionate person and an empathetic person, I feel bad for that energy and for that person that had to pass in that way, because he was by himself. He didn't have anybody else. So how many other people go through that same trauma and that same situation where they pass in a tragic way and there isn't anybody around? So it makes me sad. Yeah. It really does.
I've definitely had some similar experiences, being a psychic medium and tuning into the spirit set in the way that I have. I've had a lot of experiences where I'm in a similar spot. I'm feeling the heart attack, or I'm feeling the seizure that someone had, or I'm feeling the suffocation that someone endured to finally reach that peaceful transition into the next phase of their soul's journey. It's hard. It's very hard. And something that not a lot of people realize is that when you do see glimpses of things in your mind's eye, it a lot of times is real.
Yeah.
It's just beyond the perception of what we consider the physical.
Right.
And so I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because that is a true understanding of clairvoyance being in use. And we do it a lot, and we don't fully realize it. We accept that as imagination or as, an illusion.
Right. Because society has told us that those things aren't real and that we shouldn't think about that, or that stuff is fantasy or whatever. So when you actually do experience it, society has gotten into our heads enough that we're told this isn't real. This isn't legit. You're making things up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm so glad that you were able to bring that to our awareness. And I appreciate you for that.
Yeah.
So looking into this, I am curious, knowing that we have had some really, really intense situations in paranormal investigation, as anyone would diving into that kind of space. I'm curious to know if there has ever been an investigation that negatively affected you or someone that was also a participant in the investigation.
I mean, I would say the heart attack thing was negative. I don't know for sure, because everybody takes away something different from an investigation. I know I've had experiences where the best way I could describe it was as a tornado of negative energy that was around me. Wasn't anything I could prove. There was nothing substantial. There was no video evidence. There was no audio evidence. There was nothing I could tangibly say, this is what happened. But just feeling that negative whirl around you and just I need to get out of this space. In a way, it's things that stick with you. So to me, that's a negative impact. But there's also the positives to it, because you're feeling the energy, you're feeling things. But nothing to the point anybody that I remember has ever gotten hurt physically. Okay. There's never been any trauma or long-lasting pain other than just our psychological traumas, but nothing nobody falling downstairs or getting pushed downstairs or nothing like that I've experienced anyway. I know other people have, but not that I've ever experienced. So
okay, I've definitely experienced similar.
Yeah.
I had a loved one who was going through some stuff, and it definitely took a physical toll to where physical signs of spirit involvement was definitely present, and it's scary, but you never know if you're going to get that in an investigation, which is why I was curious to see if you've ever had anything similar, or
knock on wood. No.
There you go. I love that. So in understanding that you also own a business with your husband, Mike, who is also wonderful.
Sometimes. No, I love him.
We love him. Have the experiences with the paranormal had any decision in what you sell at your shop?
I'm always curious to have something that would be considered a haunted item. So far, that hasn't really happened. Although I know you've said that there was a doll that we had at one point that you said something was attached to.
Very strongly.
But other than that, I don't think we've really had anything that was haunted that I'm aware of. I know we've had some thumps and bangs and weird things that have happened in the shop, and it made me think that maybe we brought in something that had something, but I can't prove it. I don't know. And our cameras haven't caught anything. So, we do sell Ouija boards, and I don't know, Ouija boards, obviously I've used them. We've used them. But I think it's your intent too. If you're going into it with bad intentions, then you're probably going to attract bad things. Or if you don't cleanse, or you don't use it properly, you don't close it out properly. And I know there's a lot of fear around Ouija boards, but I don't know. We still sell the stuff. I still find it all fascinating, so I hope other people can find it fascinating. And if they don't want it, then they don't have to take it. So.
Absolutely. I love it. It's so much fun. I actually have one upstairs.
Yeah.
And I use it. And if anyone out there is curious about the spirit board, it is easy to use, but it is something that requires patience, and it requires a unique perspective on what is actually happening, because you'll have your scientists that will tell you it's kind of the subconscious mind, minor movements of the hands and twitching that kind of moves the board. But then you also have the perspective of spirits uniting on your behalf to communicate from the other side. So definitely smudge, definitely cast protection, definitely utilize, support from others. If you're able to do it with others, it's always a better option than alone. In my cause, I do it alone, but that's just me.
Well, I'm calling on your spirit guides and any, or if, depending on what your beliefs are, like if you call on angels or God or whatever to give you protection and assistance. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And make sure you close out the board.
Absolutely. That's a strong goodbye. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, bye.
Do you have any advice for anyone who would like to begin their journey into either exploring the paranormal or starting their own adventure into a small business?
So start with the first one with the investigative thing. Get protection as much as you can. Whether, depending on what your beliefs are, if that's a crucifix, if that's salt, if that's stones, if that's a pentacle, whatever is significant to you that aids in protection. The number one thing, because you never know what you're going to come across. Like, most of the time, it's going to be good things. It's going to be just people like you and me that have passed away, that they're lost. But then you're going to come across the ones that are the tricksters and that are the bad. So you need to stay protected. You have to. So that'd be the number one thing I would say if you want to travel down the path of investigating. Like, it's a very enlightening and interesting thing to get into, but yeah, you definitely need to be protected. Tools, people will say, like, oh, you need all these tools to investigate. Yeah, they come in handy, especially if you want to be able to prove what you caught, like having a voice recorder or having cameras or whatever. But if you don't care about having the physical proof of something, then just trust your gut, trust your intuition. If you feel like you see something or hear something, like, just trust your intuition. And then when you're investigating, like, just have respect for whoever it is that you're conversing with, because they were just people. Unless they're a trickster, unless they're bad, then and then as far as a business, it's a lot of work. I love it. I love it to pieces. I love our customers. They make it worth it. It is a lot of work, though.
It is.
But yeah, setting up all your tax stuff and just, I don't want to go through all the beginning stuff again. But a lot of it, like, talking to friends. Like, if you have friends that have a business, like, I know I learned so much from friends we had that had businesses. Hopefully we helped when you started.
Absolutely.
But yeah, just a lot of it, it's just learning the tips and tricks of owning a business and what not to do a lot of the time. I know I've certainly made a fair number of mistakes along the way, but yeah, just, it's kind of live and learn with me, unfortunately. Just, yeah.
And do what you love.
Yes.
Do what you're passionate about, because then it won't be work anymore.
Yeah.
It will be your passion coming to life.
Yes.
And so definitely something to keep in mind in that journey. And then lastly, as our time is coming to an end, is there anything that you would like to let the people know about what they can expect from the Painted Wraith in the future?
More events.
Yay!
Yeah, we definitely want to hold more events. So far this year we did the Street Festival and we did the Krampus Market, both of which were huge successes for our vendors and for the customers. So we definitely want to do more of that. And then just bringing people more art and more cool items that we discover, whether they're antiques or it's handmade art from local artists or witchy things from Cameron here. Just anything, I don't know, just things that people will love. So, and if people have ideas, if you have things that you want us to carry, let us know. We'll do our best to try to find it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your knowledge and vulnerability. It truly has been a pleasure. And if you have enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe for all things Witchcast. Until we meet again.